How to kill chargers in the easiest and fastest way possible. After the railgun nerf, it's a little bit harder to kill chargers now, but there are still some tools in our arsenal that we can use to spread democracy. For starters, let's go over the railgun. A lot of people don't know this, but it actually got nerfed in unsafe mode. The old way to kill chargers with a railgun was to shoot the front of its legs until the armor broke off, and then you could use your primary weapon to finish it off. This would take 2 shots if you fully charged it up, and it was pretty easy peasy. It was a really quick way of dealing with chargers. Now it's about double that since the nerf, so you have to put in about 3 to 4 shots for it to really work. And it has to be in unsafe mode when you're doing it. So it's still viable, but it's going to take you double the amount of ammo and double the amount of time. Actually, probably longer, but we'll just call it double time. One very important note before we move on to other weapons: never ever shoot a charger in its little butt. That's technically its weak spot, but that thing is incredibly tanky. Unless you're willing to waste all of your ammunition shooting that, I would not recommend hitting it. All right, now let's talk about some of the older weapons before we go into the newer weapons. Woohoo! So obviously you have the expendable anti-tank, the recoilless rifle, that functionally do the same thing as the railgun did. You shoot the front of the leg and try to get the armor off before you finish it off with your primary or secondary. The only real difference is the trade-off you get between using the EAT versus using the recoilless rifle. For starters, the EAT, you only get 2, and as the name implies, they are expendable. So that means you get 2 shots, maximum of 2 chargers taken out with them. The good news is they only have a 70-second cooldown and come in pretty quick. You can also only carry 1 at a time, so it's a little bit of a trade-off if you want to order them early or when you're in the middle of a fight. For the recoilless rifle, now we're taking up a backpack slot and it takes a while to reload. So if you're in a group where they're going to be able to cover you or reload the weapon for you, the recoilless isn't that bad of a choice, but I think there are better options that we will explore further now. Next up, we have the spear. I personally love the spear. And the spear is one of the few weapons that can just straight up one-shot a charger and do it from afar. Basically, you have to lock on to the enemy with your spear, and once it turns green, you shoot it, and the missile will go automatically target them and hit them. Depending on how the rocket hits them, it could one-shot them, it could just blow up some of their armor, and it could just lightly injure them. Also, there is a chance that it completely whiffs and you just wasted your ammo, but that happens. The downside of the spear is much like the recoilless rifle, where you're forced to reload every time you shoot. The biggest downside is the fact that the spear only comes with 3 bullets, so as soon as you run out, you have to resupply. It's not too bad, it gets replenished with ammo packs, but still, that's a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. And again, you're using up a backpack slot, so you don't get something like a rover or a shield or anything else like that. Some of these downsides can be mitigated with group play. That sounded way more kinky than I would have liked. So if you're squatting up with a group of other Helldivers, think about bringing the spear. Okay, so now let's quickly go over some of the post-patch weapons that everyone is curious about. First off, we have the flamethrower. This got a 50% increase in damage after the railgun nerf patch. And a lot of people are saying that this is the new charger killer. This will be the best weapon right now. While I don't necessarily agree that it's the greatest weapon of the game, it is very effective at dealing with chargers and groups of enemies. Plus, you don't need a backpack slot, so you can throw in a shield, which I personally think is the best loadout for the flamethrower. It should only take you a couple seconds to fry a charger with the flamethrower, but unlike some of the other weapons I've mentioned so far, this actually is harder to use when you're playing with groups, because you can do some friendly fire with the flamethrower. Try not to light your fellow Helldiver on fire out there, soldier. Next up, we have the laser cannon. Is the laser cannon any good at dealing with chargers? My answer, no. When I first heard the laser cannon was able to deal with armor and other things more effectively, I was like, oh wow, this is going to be the charger killer. No, not really. It still can't deal with durable enemy parts, so that means the chargers and Bile Titans, it can't really hit them. If you try to shoot at a charger's legs with the laser cannon, it just, reflects off, refracts, I don't know what you call it. What am I, a scientist? And the only damage you'll do is if you hit its softer parts. And even then, it's not going to tear into them in a matter of seconds. Plus, the inherent weakness of the laser cannon against smaller enemies like the Hunter make it not ideal for dealing with chargers. Although, thankfully, you don't need a backpack slot for it, so you could grab a shield or something else like that. I just don't think it's very effective at killing chargers and would be much better suited for someone else on the squad. And now we can talk about the Arc Thrower. Now, the Arc Thrower is a really good weapon, and I would recommend this highly for at least someone on your squad to be running an Arc Thrower, if not multiple. This thing is amazing. It shreds through enemies so easily, and even chargers and Bile Titans, it will make its way through their HP pool. Now, it's pretty slow when it goes through some of these tankier enemies, but if you ran a squad of 4 Helldivers rocking an Arc Thrower, even the tankiest of enemies, chargers, Bile Titans, they die in seconds. For a smaller squad, it's going to take a little bit more time, but still, an Arc Thrower is a pretty decent way of dealing with chargers, especially since it'll bounce and take care of some of the other chaff that's on the side. And again, it doesn't take up a backpack slot, so you can run a shield or any other backpack slot you want. Finally, let's talk about the autocannon. Now, I'm a big fan of the autocannon for multiple reasons, but since we're only talking about chargers, this is the best way to take chargers out with the autocannon. First, you're probably going to need to be behind a charger before this works, and you're going to want to aim for the back of its legs. It does not matter which leg, but you're going to want to shoot the leg that you shot in the previous step in this next step. So think about whatever leg you're going to have the easiest time hitting again. If you shoot the legs and there's a little spark that comes out, that's how you'll know you did it right. Next, when the charger turns around and comes to charge you again, aim for the front of the leg you just shot, and boom, it should be dead. The autocannon has some things going against it, like for example, taking up a backpack slot. But because of the backpack slot, the autocannon has so much ammo, you will probably never need another weapon for dealing with chargers. I could go on all day about the autocannon, how it can help you do optional objectives, how it's good for groups of enemies, you can snipe things from afar. It's just a really good weapon. Also, and I forgot to mention this, if you use the impact grenade and throw in between the charger's legs, if you do that enough times, it will kill the charger as well. So if you've done some damage and aren't able to finish it off, just chuck some impact grenades between its legs. Anyways, I know a lot of people are having trouble with chargers in the recent patch, and hopefully this will alleviate some of those issues. I'll be making a video in the future breaking down most of these weapons in more detail, but I just wanted to have a video out there that shows you how to kill chargers with all these different weapons and which one's inevitably the best. For a quick TLDW, autocannon is probably number 1, regardless of in groups or not. Flamethrower is a close second as long as you don't murder your teammates as well. The spear and recoilless are pretty good if you're in a group, and if you're a low level, just use the expendable anti-tank. And if you're in a group of 4, honestly just run the arc thrower. That thing's broken. You can do whatever you want. Okay, go check out my other videos. SwagMoney69 signing out.